Hello, everyone. This is our regular meeting of the Urbana Community Development Commission, first one of the year. So we have an agenda for this evening, and we'll proceed with that agenda. And I now call the meeting to order. Next, we have roll call.
Fred Cobb.
Here.
Michael Brown.
Here.
Chris Diana. Reverend Freeman.
Here.
Ann Hines Silvis.
Here.
Karen Hodgen Jones.
Here.
Jerry Moreland. Abdul Hakim Salam. James Winston.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is approval or correction of the minutes. So we'll take a minute or two to review our minutes, after which I'll entertain a motion for approval or corrections. Okay. Okay, anyone need more time? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second to approve the minutes as written. Any questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Ayes have it, and the motion carries. Next, we have petitions and communications. Anything written?
No.
Okay. Next, audience participation. We have an audience out there. Would you like to bring up anything that's not on our minutes, on our agenda? Okay. Next, we have a staff report. Can we get a report?
Yes.
Okay.
So we received our letter from HUD that our response to HUD's review of our Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, or our CAPER, was complete and approved. They approved all of our recommendations, our responses, so that was good. So that's good, because in the past we have had several responses back and forth. So this was our first one, and they liked it. So
Glad I'm on the board.
yes. Also can see that since we have the intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Rantoul, and their community development manager is still new, they needed assistance, and so they contacted me, and I went up and I met with them and talked to them about how to respond and gave them examples that we use. So, and then when they were done, they actually did the work, and then they submitted it to me, and I looked at it, reviewed it, it looked good, told them then to send it on to their HUD rep. So provided the technical assistance. Continuing to, monitor all of our budgets and programs, our timeliness and such. We've also been working with Champaign regarding home funding, environmental reviews regarding Bristol. Since we are the lead entity for the home consortium, we are in charge of doing the environmental reviews. So Matt's been working with Janelle on getting that done. We're also working with TWG Development regarding Aspen Court rehabilitation. We've determined about how much funds we have, and so we're working with them toward that. We also applied to the Illinois Housing Development Authority for round 3 of the Abandoned Properties Program, and we're waiting to hear back, hopefully within the next month or two. And that's going well. Also, you can see under the Housing Rehabilitation Coordinator, Randy's, what tasks that he's been doing regarding the emergency grant, access grant, senior repair applications. Also working on the abandoned properties funding that we currently have, identifying and properties and such, and getting bids and things out. Also preparing invoices and funding requests from different agencies, and then showing, the different meetings that we attend on a regular basis. And so that's our staff briefing.
Thank you. Any questions? Comments? Thank you very much. Next, we have, the annual, you want to make a comment on the?
Yes, yeah,
annual
I
action
decided to put that under
schedule?
here.
Okay.
So I sent, as part of our packet, our tentative schedule for the adoption of our annual action plan for fiscal year 18-19, which would start in July of this year. And you can see that we had public hearing, neighborhood meetings in various places throughout the city. But I wanted to show you next month at our February meeting, we will be having you recommend priorities for the Community Development Block Grant Public Service Funds. And also we will hopefully have a rough draft of the annual action plan memo talking about our programs and funding. And then we will review that, receive comments, and then with our March meeting, we will have a public hearing. And that will be, we are required, because of our consolidated plan and annual action plan, to have a public comment period of 30 days. So that will start, the public hearing will be the start of the public comment period, which will go then for a month regarding the annual action plan. And then it will go to council and approved early May. We'll finalize it and then submit it by mid-May. So that is pretty much hopefully the schedule that we will be having. So if there's any questions, let me know. But that's how it should go for the next few months.
Okay, looks like a plan. Okay, next is old business. Does anyone want to bring up anything under old business? I was wondering, Kelly, if you had contacted housing or HUD about, the housing authority, about people being required to pay part of the cost if they move or anything?
Mhm.
I mean, if they are put out for the remodeling to be done, do they have to pay any more to get back in?
No, I actually haven't. That's,
Mhm.
it's a different part of HUD.
Mm.
The community planning and development is what is over us, entitlements. It's actually public and Indian housing that is over public housing authorities. But, I mean, that is something that we could ask
Mhm.
about.
But it was stated at the last meeting, if some of the tenants are stressed financially, that there would be probably some help for them.
Okay. Well, we haven't heard of any problems, so, but
Mhm.
we'll,
There's also in cooperation with the township.
I know, possibly, I know the
They had
township,
talked about that.
yes,
and
yeah,
so
they had,
coordinated to do that with us.
yes. Yeah, we had a meeting with Danielle, but it was regarding the social service funding process. But we are supposed to have another meeting with her, and we can connect on that, too.
Okay. Well, let's move on to new business. First on the new business is a resolution approving an amendment to an Urbana Home Consortium sub-recipient agreement, which concerns Habitat for Humanity. And we had something in our packet explaining that. Do we get more
Yes,
explanation?
I'll have Matt do that, and
Okay.
then
Of
course.
Sheila can come up also, and she's going to share some information as well, and also be available
Oh.
for questions.
Oh, okay.
The proposed resolution here relates to an amendment that would alter the project sites for the subrecipient agreement that the city, or the Urbana Home Consortium has executed with Habitat for Humanity. And that agreement originally stems from the RFP process that we undertook with home funds around this time last year. So that's a $150,000 subrecipient agreement that will allow Habitat to partially subsidize 4 single-family affordable homeownership opportunities. And really, the only change that's being proposed in this amendment is that the original agreement, I think it was, the sites there were 1206 West Church Street and 1204 West Church Street in Urbana, and then 610 Phillips Drive in Champaign, and then a 4th site to be determined. The amendment assigns that 4th site that was sort of undetermined when the agreement was signed, and also replaces 610 Phillips Drive. The 2 proposed sites that are contained within the amendment are on Beslin Street in Urbana. It's 1404 West Beslin and 1406 West Beslin. The reason we're replacing 610 Phillips Drive is the buyer was obtaining a mortgage, and the mortgage lender did not agree with the land use restriction agreement that the home consortium was required to record on that property. So we decided to walk away from that one and replace it with another one. Those are really the only changes that are being made here. There'd be, of course, no impact on the city general fund, as this pertains only to home funding. And the creation of affordable homeownership opportunities is, of course, a very key goal in our consolidated plan and annual action plans. So staff recommends approval of the resolution, and Sheila and I are both here for questions if you have any.
Any questions?
Just have one question. Can we be notified when this happens so we can be present, so we can be,
Oh, the builds?
Oh, yeah, they're all fine.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
please.
Absolutely. 1406 Beslin, both of the foundations are in. 1406 Beslin, we're going to do in partnership with a lender, a bank here in town, and they don't want a lot of the publicity, so I'm not going to say it on air, but it's going to start the 28th of March, and they're going to put a real push on to do it and be completed by the middle of May. They kind of are looking at that Mother's Day dedication. We may not be 100% complete, but we'll be pretty close. And then 1404 Beslin is a really exciting project because it's the 50th home that we have built in the city of Urbana. And so Diana Marlin is really excited about getting you guys out there to work on the build, getting council members and staff, and I'm sure you'll hear more internally about that from her later. But it will probably start the middle of May just because of this compressed schedule, and then we'll be done with it probably at the end of July, first part of August. So.
On the dedication day, are we notified when the dedications will be?
We do
Yes.
notify
Someone-
staff, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then I
Yeah.
do forward it to the commission and to city council.
Yep, and if any time you would like to meet one of the families or hear more about our process, I'd be happy to bring them. So, we don't start building until we have the funds in place and an approved buyer in the end. Some habitats do it different, but that's how I do it.
I was wondering about the original 610 Phillips Drive.
Uh-huh.
What happened to the purchaser or,
We bought that house as part of the Attorney General grant, which allowed us to purchase foreclosed properties, rehab them, and then resell them. And on that grant, there was the City of Champaign and Urbana, two bankers, Busey Bank and Hickory Point Bank, and then the U of I Law Clinic and Urban Planning. And so part of the grant allowed us to sell the houses through traditional lending. So we bought the house, we fixed it up, and the person that bought it through a Busey Bank loan, and their end buyer, because they always sell the loans, just did not want the land use restriction on it. And so we went ahead and sold the house without that piece of the puzzle, knowing we had these other two on Beslin that we could easily swap it out, because they'll be Habitat home buyers. So I don't care if Matt puts a land use restriction on them, you know. We have a 10-year restriction on the sale of it anyway, so.
yeah. So the originally intended purchaser got a house anyway, is that right?
Yes, yeah. And when we bought that house and rehabbed it, we didn't have an end buyer in mind because we knew we would market it through a realtor and sell it to a low-income person that qualified for a loan at Busey or Hickory Point Bank, and that's what happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you said the bank didn't approve it, so.
Right, right. No, she's a great homeowner, single mom with a young daughter, but she had great credit and qualified for a bank at Busey. But once you go to the banks with all of the new lending laws, they aren't quite as flexible, and they don't like those additional pieces. So.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? No? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, on this project here, we have three options as usual. We can recommend some modifications to the way it's presented. We can forward it the way it is, or we can not recommend it. So with, also, we need to look at the fiscal impact. As stated here, there'll be no fiscal impact on the city general fund, and I assume community development operations. Is that correct?
That's right. These funds are already committed. It would just be putting them to different locations.
Right. And programmatic impacts, well, it looks like we get two houses instead of one. So, okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion for one of these options. Would someone like to move and move this forward?
Sure, I'll move to forward the resolution approving an amendment to the Urbana Home Consortium subrecipient agreement with Habitat for Humanity to the Urbana City Council with a recommendation for approval.
Okay, we have a motion to forward this with our approval. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Any further questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, next, we have a resolution approving modifications to the City of Urbana Community Development Target Area.
So,
Elaboration.
yeah, to start off with this, I just want to take a step back and review what exactly the community development target area is. And Kelly can probably shed some light on this too, since it goes back before my time as well.
Long time.
But the community development target area is a contiguous part of Urbana that's made up of census block groups that are defined using HUD data that they've sort of played around with, that they originally got from the census. And that data shows that the block groups that are included within the target area have at least 51% or greater low mod income residents. And all of the census block groups in the current and the proposed community development target areas meet that criteria. So that the one that we're using right now, the extent of the community development target area, that goes back to the 2000 census. In 2014, HUD released a notice that explained that we can't use that data anymore, and instead we have to use American Community Survey data. And when we looked at how that would impact our community development target area, we realized that several census tracts and block groups fell out of qualifying in the target area. And it was around that same time in 2014 that the capital improvement plan from Public Works had included 2 projects within Census Tract 56 Block Group 1, which is also known as the Learman neighborhood. And HUD rules regarding CDBG state that we can only provide infrastructure on an area benefit basis within block groups where 51% or more of the residents are low mod income, which feeds into CDBG being used to benefit low income residents. So because block group, Census Tract 56 Block Group 1 did not meet that criteria anymore, we were unable to use our CDBG funds to undertake the infrastructure activities in the Learman neighborhood because it no longer met the criteria. The newer data said that it had 47% low mod income residents, so it pushed it below. And staff then undertook an income survey of the area that we began in 2017, about a year ago, February. And we started mailing out and went door to door. And after really working continuously, since that time until very recently, we've been talking with HUD, and we feel like our survey has achieved statistical validity, and the final results of that showed that 60% of residents in the Learman neighborhood were low mod income. And because of that, we felt confident bringing forth the proposal for the updated community development target area, which includes the areas that have 51% low mod income residents according to the ACS data, and Census Tract 56 Block Group 1, the Learman neighborhood, which we were able to show through our income survey as being eligible for assistance. Really, the changes to the block group area That really isn't a change because Census Tract 56 Block Group 1 is in the current one and it's also in the proposed one. Also, the area that's now known as Census Tract 55 Block Group 4 is no longer in the community development target area because it has 37% low mod income residents. And 3 smaller block groups are also now proposed in the new target area in South Urbana. 2 other block groups in Census Tract 56 and 1 block group in Census Tract 57. So just talking about the programmatic impacts here, the infrastructure projects that Public Works wants us to work on first, as shown in the CIP, are the 2 projects in Census Tract 56, the ones that are currently ineligible based on the old census data. So by changing the target area and including this block group within the target area and confirming that, we are able to complete the infrastructure activities, which is called for in our consolidated plan and in the comprehensive plan and meets many of our programmatic impacts. And fiscally, it also allows us to better meet our timeliness requirements for CDBG by expending those funds faster. And I would also add that it could impact, adjusting the community development target area could also impact the city general fund, as city general funds are used in the neighborhood cleanup event. And that leads me into discussing also the activities that are governed by the community development target area only include the neighborhood cleanup event and infrastructure improvements. And also it allows staff to undertake whole house rehabilitation activities within the target area without having to bring each individual case to the CDC. So really, the target area only has an impact on those 3 activities: the neighborhood cleanup, infrastructure, and whole house rehabs. So with that information in mind, Kelly, do you have anything you want to add?
I was just going to say the rest of our programs, other housing rehab programs are citywide. So just the 3 that Matt mentioned that are specific to our target areas would be affected.
So the options before the CDC here are to forward the resolution with recommendation for approval, forward with additional changes but a recommendation for approval, and not recommending approval. Staff recommends approval of the resolution as written, and I'm happy to entertain any questions. I know it's a lot of numbers and a lot of acronyms, so yeah.
Well, first, I was wondering why the fiscal impacts paragraph was not included.
Oh, it is. Right above, it's on the last page. Right above recommendations.
Oh, there we go. In a different place. Okay, another question. I was wondering if the number of people involved would change by, this Census Tract 56 block Group 1. Is that going to make more people involved in the program? Is it going to benefit more people or not?
It would continue benefit that that residents of that block group are already receiving. They're included within the one that we're using right now, but by bringing forth this proposed community development target area, they would simply continue to see that result. We created our own data to augment HUD's data that allows us to propose that they continue to receive the benefits. Otherwise, they would need to be removed from the target area.
Would that include more people?
That's hard to say. it's the block groups that are coming out of the target area is really only one. It's Census Tract 55, block group 4, and there's 3 smaller block groups getting added to the in the proposed target area, and those are all in South Urbana. So I haven't run the numbers on exactly how many households would be removed and how many would go in, but I'm willing to guess just based on the areas that are proposed for removal and addition that it would be pretty close to a net zero on that.
Okay. Any other questions while I'm all there? Yeah, go ahead.
In the final paragraph on the first page and into the second page, you list a number of block groups that do qualify, but for whatever reason are not being included. Could you give a little bit of a rationale for why it is that they are not being included? Would it necessitate the distribution of funds or additional services to them? Do they not need those? Are those covered somewhere else in the
Yeah.
expenditures?
Those areas are primarily student occupied, and historically we have not extended the block group to, or the target area to those areas, and that's the way it had been before my time. They qualify because students are generally low income per what the ACS and the census say, but historically we have not extended the target area to those areas, even though they qualify, and we haven't heard really any desire to do that and to extend those services to those areas.
I think that with student housing, you have a lot of apartment building complexes versus a lot of our housing rehab are for like single-family homes. So I think that's another reason why in the past it's not, the housing student area has not been included. And because a lot of them are also, our programs are owner-occupied as well for our rehab programs, and a lot of students might not be homeowners, just renters.
Okay. Anyone else?
I guess I have a question about your methodology. It seems like your approach was to try to reach every household to get an answer directly, rather than relying on some kind of method to use inferential statistics to determine the income level. Is that correct?
No, we did a randomized sample survey.
Okay.
We randomly selected a sample. I wanted to pare down some of the methodology in there because, yeah, we could have gotten pretty dense with that. But we determined that there were 654 residential households in that neighborhood. We then started out with a confidence interval of 4, which led to a sample size of 313. We mailed out to those. We had a specific replacement criteria. If they didn't respond to our mail survey and they didn't respond door to door, we replaced them with randomized households and kept that going until we got an 82% response rate. We also adjusted the confidence interval. We talked to HUD about that and got that cleared with them. So yes, we did not undertake a census.
Cool. Well, my next question was going to be what your confidence interval was, and you answered it. So thank you, Matt.
Yes, we submitted the methodology to HUD for approval first before we started this. So.
Yeah, and I mean, you had a great sample size. It seems, from reading here, it looks well done. So.
Okay, my last question is, are there any negatives?
Really the negative that comes with this is that it does reduce, it takes out one of the block groups, but there's really nothing we can do about that because the block group doesn't qualify anymore. And it's got, with Census Tract 56 block group 1, the Learman neighborhood, it was at 47% low mod income, according to the ACS statistics. 55 block group 4 is at 37%. And it's hard to tell, even with an income survey, if that would even get up into are over the 51% threshold. So, I mean, right now, the proposed target area just brings us into alignment with the data that HUD wants us to use.
Okay. Anyone else? If not, I'll entertain a motion on this action, and we have those three options. So would someone like to make a motion?
I move that the resolution be forwarded to the Urbana City Council with a recommendation that they approve it as written.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to recommend, to forward the resolution to the Urbana City Council with a recommendation for approval. And any further comments, questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the motion carries. Okay. We have no more agenda items for the meeting. Do any commissioners want to bring up anything at this point? We might mention something about Chris. He seems to be going through a lot of problems lately with his diabetes and his brother.
Yes.
So I'd like to wish him and his family the best. He's been with the commission a long time.
He has been.
Yeah. Okay, with that, I'll now declare this meeting adjourned. Thanks for your participation.